Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby.
Who is that?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast. Today, a slice of advice on how we can take the pressure off, maybe reduce the pressure. Let's take the pressure down a little bit.
You can't say that and not do a little bit of John Farnham.
Let me hear it.
Take the pressure down. You want me to sing more?
Yeah, keep going. Okay, this is not karaoke. Let's move on with this. We're trying to give you a slice of advice on how we can take the pressure down, reduce the pressure, because back to school, it just feels like a lot, doesn't it? I know that it's tricky in all sorts of ways sometimes across the Christmas break, especially when you're juggling work and the kids being at home. But once school goes back, especially in the first week or two, kind of feels like, I don't know, family life feels more complicated than it was during the holidays. Do you ever look at families around us and think, gee, how is it that I'm married to a parenting expert and yet they're doing it so much better?
Whenever I have the opportunity to stand in front of your audiences, I literally say, I'm here to make you feel good about life because I'm doing it wrong all the time. And I'm hoping that you're going to learn something from me so that you don't make the same mistakes.
The thing is, if you visit with almost any family, sit down with any parent and have a genuine and honest conversation, they usually tell you that that's how they feel about everyone else. Like, we all feel like we're the ones that are stumbling around in the dark in the shadows, reaching for the light, and it just feels completely unobtainable, but everyone else has obtained it, just not us.
Well, regardless of whether it's a social media highlights reel or not, we are actually seeing people's highlights reel in action in our lives. People are on their best behavior when they're out and about with you watching on.
Yeah, what's happening in their kitchen is not what's happening
exactly. And we're all the same. So we're judging other people on their public life while we're judging ourselves on our private life.
So all week we're supposed to be just giving you one slice of advice to help with all the back to school stuff today.
But we keep giving you half a loaf.
Well, yeah, we're down to five slices, five pieces of bread. I don't know.
Not even 3 sandwiches.
five slices of advice on how we can reduce the pressure, take the pressure down during back to school. And I guess just in life in general, I'm going to kick it off. My first one comes down to 2 really important words. And I think that if we can get this right, it solves so much in our lives, not just with pressure, but the way we are in the world. 2 words, self-awareness. Self-awareness. And what I mean by that is, in this context, in terms of reducing pressure, we have to be realistic about our capabilities. I'm
sorry, I'm just laughing.
Stop laughing at me. Why are you laughing at me?
I think the motto for the last 20 plus years has been bite off more than you can chew and make it up as we go along.
Okay, so maybe this podcast is just for me. Okay, this is my medicine that I need to take. We've got to be realistic about our capabilities. Don't ask me how I'm going with this right now. We've got limited resources in terms of time and money and cognitive load and emotional space and bandwidth. And if we are not wise with those resources, like if we try to cram too much in, we get lousy results. So to take the pressure down, I can't
marry well.
You've put that song in my head now. We're not even supposed to be talking about taking the pressure down. We're supposed to be talking about reducing pressure. And I'm right there with Johnny Farnham. John, don't call me Johnny. I forgot he doesn't like being called Johnny Farnham. When we know what our resources are and we allocate them appropriately and accordingly, we just do better. So what I'm really saying here is get good at saying no. And there's easy ways to say no. Apparently, not that I'm very good at it. And the easy way to say no is, I really wish that I could. Unfortunately, that's not going to fit in just at the moment. I wish that I could is a way of really softly saying, and probably truthfully saying, I want to be involved in this, but I'm realizing that I'm only wishing that I could because I don't have the capacity. So that's the first idea for reducing pressure, especially around back to school.
Well, I did really well on that. I actually just got asked yesterday if I would participate in an Easter program that's obviously coming up. And I looked at the calendar and I just realized it wasn't realistic for me to say yes. And I said, I wish I could help you, but I can't.
And how'd that feel?
Oh, disappointing, because the reality is I actually really want to be a part of it.
Yeah, so it is true. I really wish that I could. Yeah. Okay, number two.
Number two, creating frameworks, structures and systems. I can see what you've done here.
Okay. I gave me the one that I need to work on, and I might have given you the one that you need to work on.
So for the last 20 plus years, I have really, really fought against structure in our home. I think that for the most part, I'm an orderly person. I don't love feeling boxed in by a structure. And so this has been something that I constantly have to revisit and work with. But at the times where our lives are falling apart the most is when I really have to push into this notion of structures, because it makes such a difference. I know it. I cognitively and mentally know that structures and systems make a difference, but I just really struggle with it.
What's great about them is that once you've got a framework or a system or a structure, you don't have to keep thinking about it. So for mornings, for example, if you get that morning structure nailed down, you just go with the flow. It reduces friction. It's like, okay, I do this and then I do this and then I do this and then we're out the door.
Yeah, and this is the challenge though, because you give me a hard time because I don't
give you a hard time.
I don't do structure very well, but there are certain parts of the day where there is absolute structure.
Of course.
And I work really well within those structures. But I don't like being told that I have to have this particular meal for dinner this night or...
Which is so funny because you think about the cognitive load. This is such a great example, totally unscripted and unplanned here, but we have that conversation most days. So on a Saturday or a Sunday, we sit down with the kids, we put together a meal list, and then you look at the list and say, don't want to do that. And so we were like, okay, well, what will we have for dinner? Because we had a plan, we had a system, we had a structure. And you're like, I don't feel like cooking at all. And I'm like, well, we need food, and the kids don't have the skills to cook, and often I'm away or I'm getting back late.
Well, then you don't have anything to complain about because you're not here.
And the structure makes the difference. The structure is what gets you through.
Okay. So this year my plan is to work more on structures, and I actually don't have a choice. Now that I've got 2 children at home homeschooling, structures really, really matter.
We're really feeling it right now. So I feel like we need to recap because these are 2 really big things. Number 1, be realistic about your capabilities. Say no where you have to. Understand what your resources are, because if you try to do too much, you just get lousy results. Number 2, create frameworks and structures and systems to reduce your cognitive load, because you deal so much better. You're less likely to get overwhelmed if you've just got a nice system to follow. Here's number 3. This one's one of my favorites, and I think I'm pretty darn good at this one. Slow things down to speed up. The thinking behind this...
Did you say that I'm really good at this one?
No, I said I'm really good at this one.
Are you sure?
The reason that this works, I like to use the analogy of a maths problem. So if the kids are sitting at the table and they're trying to do a maths problem and it doesn't make sense, what usually happens is they become increasingly emotional about it. And the more emotional they become, the more they try to speed through to the solution.
Okay. We're talking about emotions. Yeah, I'll give it to you. You're pretty good at this.
It's not just emotions. It's kind of everything. What happens when you're trying to go too fast is your brain kind of goes a little bit haywire, your emotions can go a little bit haywire, the pressure is on, and then things start to fall through the cracks. Maybe you get cranky, maybe you forget a school bag or a school lunch, which only adds more pressure to your day. Or, I don't know, Mrs. Happy Families, you're coming home from an extracurricular activity with one of the kids and you know you've got to stop and get dinner, except you forget because there's so much going on. You're going so fast. And then you get home, drop that child off and realize that you have to go back out to get the dinner that you drove straight past.
And let the dog out of the gate. Are you just going to keep going?
So
I can't believe you're picking on me.
Overwhelm creates tunnel vision. But what we need is low emotions and
we all ate that night. Let's just be real.
And broad perspectives, because they encourage expansive thinking and a solutions focus. So here's what I'm saying. Number 3, to take the pressure off, take a beat. Breathe, prioritize, focus. That's how we reduce the pressure.
Well, I might not be good at those ones, but I am really good at number 4.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to work through this one, but number 4 is asking for help. This is really important. We're not supposed to be able to do everything on our own. We feel like that's what we're supposed to do, but we're not.
There's something about asking for help. I'm so glad that you raised this. When I was running a session a little while ago and I said to people, how do you feel when you ask for help? and everyone said, I feel like I'm a burden. I feel
I'm
like
a failure.
I'm not keeping up. I'm showing everybody that I'm incapable and incompetent.
It's no one else's problem but mine.
And then
they're my kids. They shouldn't be anyone else's responsibility. Do you want me to keep going?
And I flicked the question around. I said, how do you feel when somebody comes to you and says, I'm struggling with something. Could I ask a favor? Could you give me a hand? And you know what? To a person, they all said, I love it. I want to help. I feel useful. I feel like I'm making a difference. I feel like life is good when I'm helping people. In other words, we don't want to ask for help, but we love being asked for help. Now, again, number one, you've got to make sure that you're realistic about your capabilities. And number two, you've got to make sure that you've got your frameworks and systems and structures in place. But people, especially if you choose carefully, people love being asked for help, especially when you ask the right way. I'm so glad you raised that.
But here's the thing, this actually benefits both parties. When we are in a position that we feel like we can ask somebody for help, number one, we give them a boost because they actually feel great that you think highly enough of them that you would be vulnerable with them and let them in to that space, firstly. But secondly, for them, they get a boost as they actually do something and know that it's benefiting you.
Yeah.
It just elevates both parties, and I think in lots of cases it actually fortifies and strengthens the relationship. We just had this experience the other day. One of our teenagers was in a feral mood. She was not having a good day. We went to some friends and their grandson was there. Little 1-year-old wanted to go for a swim. The adults did not want to get in, and she said, I'll do it. So she got in the pool and she played with this little boy for maybe an hour and a half in the water. And by the end of the day, she was a different kid.
Yeah.
I haven't pointed out to her that it was actually because she was serving, because she doesn't see it that way. She was just having fun in the pool. But that's actually what she was doing. She was serving the little boy and allowing him to have an experience he wouldn't have otherwise had. But she was serving the parents as well because they got to socialize with other adults instead of being stuck in the pool. It's such a beautiful reciprocal relationship.
The idea of asking for help, it could be as simple as well as just saying to your mum, hopefully, like let's say your mum or parent live nearby, and saying, I'm wondering if you can help out as a grandma or a grandpa. Could you do one school run for me a week? Like, it's not a big thing. I just one day, if I could have you on Wednesdays to just do that school run for me, what that does is it takes so much pressure off you. You know that morning you've got an extra 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes that you can get a couple of things done that matter to you without the weight of the kids. And the grandparents step in and say, you know what? We really like being with our grandkids, not every day and not feeling like it's our job to raise them, but that one time a week where we get to drive them to school, it becomes a treat. We might even pick them up 15 minutes early and stop for a hot chocolate on the way. Like, it makes such a difference. A play date for the kids, a meal at your parents' place on the weekend if they're living nearby. Small things really create disproportionate relief.
If you don't have family close by, the next step is asking friends, asking a neighbour. It can feel really, really scary that first time, especially if they're relatively new relationships. But they're such beautiful moments if we recognise that people have their own limitations and it's okay for them to say no. And number two, that we actually express gratitude when they are able to help.
Okay, let's wrap this up. The last one that I'm going to mention is prioritizing sleep. You have clearer thinking, you have more energy, you have a much more cheerful way of being, and you just experience less overwhelm and stress when you're getting enough sleep. People treat sleep like it's a luxury item. It is not. It's absolutely essential. You want to reduce the pressure in your life, get enough sleep. So 5 things, 5 slices of advice as we head back to school and try to reduce the pressure that so many families are feeling in week 1, week 2 of school.
And just like John Farnham says, take the pressure down.
Make sure you're realistic about your capabilities. Create frameworks and systems. Slow down to speed up. Ask for help and prioritize sleep. We hope this is helpful. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rillon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. If you would like more information about how to make your family happier, we'd love for you to visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.